In this video, I'm going to give a quick overview of tymoraPRO's ChartVU features. We start by bringing up an initial chart. We're here on the control bar for tymoraPRO, and we'll click the Chart button. Now we have an initial chart. We'll start with a symbol. We'll just pick NYX. It's New York Stock Exchange stock. Okay, so here we go. We have an upper chart and a lower chart. The upper chart is what I call the level chart. It's actually best described as a sort of a tick chart that removes much of the random noise, and it factors in time and volume and acts as a cross between a point and figure chart and a real-time non-lagging moving average of the asset's trading activity. The bottom chart is more what you've probably accustomed to from other programs. It's a time frame chart, and in fact here we see all the different time frames that you can choose from daily all the way down to a 1 minute, and we can change those time frames simply by clicking a different time frame. With a single glance, you also know how the asset is trading on each of those particular time frames. For example, here we see that the 5-minute, the 3-minute, and the 1-minute time frames are currently trading downward. And if we look here, we actually see that we are trading downward. We go to a 15-minute chart and we're still showing a positive bias, so we're turning down a little bit, but we're still generally in fact for the entire day we've pretty much been trading higher. The little notch on the left is actually showing you what the current state is of the tymoraPRO cycle optimized stochastics indicator, and on the right side you're seeing the stochastic CCI indicator. So if we actually turn that on, you can get an idea here. And by the way, that you just click the IND button. That brings you to the indicators window, which we'll also be going over. And here we see stochastic stocks and stock CCI. So if we click for the stochastics, we now get on this indicator pane below. Oh, actually, let me make that a little bit clearer. Let's remove this standard deviation indicator. And we still have one more indicator here. We have the stochastic momentum. So you actually see, just by clicking on any of these, you'll get a little more information. If it seems a little cryptic, pretty much everywhere you mouse over in tymoraPRO, always be aware of the hints that pop up, because they give you a lot of extra information on how to perform different actions. So here we're, let's see, those are the SMAs that we see. And you see that when I turn those off and on. And in fact, since we're here, let me show you. You see the settings. It's in the hint, it shows you the settings. We see 200, a 150, and a 50. If I right-click, I actually get this window that pops up, which shows you all the different settings that you can do. And actually, if we have some that we had chosen before, and we just read this information, it tells you how to make adjustments, color adjustments, the line thickness of the lines, and the like. And in fact, the indicators on this right side are Tymora script indicators, which you can actually change and modify or even create your own. So if I double click on SMAs, I'll actually get the source code popping up here. So if you wanted to in fact go so deep as to create your own indicators in tymoraPRO, here are many examples on how you can go ahead and do that yourself. It's essentially a form of a Pascal or Delphi, a built-in scripting language called tymoraScript. Now going back to the stochastics and the stochastic CCI, let's turn off that SMI, that's the stochastic momentum index. Now we have a blank indicator pane. If we pick stochastics, you'll see here we're sort of trending down, and that's in fact what we see on this 15-minute chart as well. If we now move to the stochastic CCI, you'll notice we're pretty much locked at the bottom, which is what we're showing over here on that 15-minute. So on each time frame, again, with just a glance, we are given that information as to what the position is, if we're, how overbought or oversold we are on any particular time frame. If we're breaking trend lines, let's say we have a trend line going like an upward trend line like this. tymoraPRO keeps track of many trend lines on the asset, and if one of them is breached, you'll besides receiving alerts in the watch view, you'll also see information come up in these boxes. You'll see like a line going across, or like diagonally or straight across, to give you an indication that some sort of a trend line was breached. You'll also notice, for example, on this 60-minute, we have some lines underneath. That's actually showing you how much time is left on that particular time frame before we move on to the next one. So in this case, you're not going to see much because the market's closed when I'm recording this. But let me pick a different one. Let's look at Forex. Forex doesn't close. So in fact, here we go. This is a euro dollar. And we see 27 minutes left. If I go down to a minute, this is actually another indicator. You see 14, 13, 12. And you'll notice that the colors are changing here as we're approaching the next time frame. So it's just giving you a heads up that the time frames are about to change, and you'll see the 3 minute and 1 minute's about to change. Now we just reset, and now they're dark again, and we're back to 55, 54, 53. This indicator is over here. It's called bar time. So you see that disappear when I toggle the bar time. So with just a glance, you're getting a really great overview of what's happening across all time frames, how much more time there is before you're hitting the next a change on any number of time frames, because it's very easy when you're very focused trading to sort of get into a little haze. You start you might miss a few things. You're very focused on one thing. So tymoraPRO is looking to give you every bit of advantage, just to let you know something is about to change. You're hitting a new 15-minute interval. You're changing on the 1 minute, the 3 minute. You're hitting the hour. And in fact, tymoraPRO even gives you time zone alerts every 15 minutes, just to sort of wake you up and keep you focused on a period of time. So just sort of throw the time out at you as well throughout the day. You can, of course, disable that off of the configuration page if you'd like. Now, I might have jumped ahead a little bit here, but let's take a step back and show you. There's a lot of little keys here. Like, for example, if you wanted to draw a trend line, you hold the Control and Shift button down while you drag the right mouse button, and you get a trend line. At first, it might be a little tricky. Right click on this indicator button, you get a cheat sheet that pops up, and it gives you all the little tricks on how to quickly do these commands. Draw a trend line. Control plus right button and drag the mouse. If you want to draw an extended trend line with the automated alerts, in fact that's what I just did, that's Shift plus Control plus the right button and then drag the mouse. Now what this line actually does that I just drew over here is that when price comes up to this line, we're going to see an alert in tymoraPRO. What's really neat about that is you can do a bunch of different things. Now, I mean, not only can you, if you have a live tymoraPRO trading account, you can in fact automatically trigger a trade off of that. You can even throw that into a strategy. I mean, it's tremendously powerful. So if you have like an automated strategy, I want to buy that trend line that I just drew on the 1 minute, and when it does that, I want to have a trailing stop, and I even want to have a target that's, say, 1/10 of the average day range above, and just sell. Maybe I only want to sell 50% and let the rest run. You have all these options, different scenarios that you can do. Let's just start with a simple example. Let's just draw a trend line. I just removed the last one. Let's draw a trend line. We hit Control B. We get this window. Execute order on a 1 minute trend line break. Yes. Just notice what happened here automatically. And let's make this a little wider. You see, we're linked to a strategy, a chart trend line. And right now we already have a stop activated at that particular price. We also see it's showing up on the upper or lower chart. That's our new order. It's a stop order for one contract to buy, and in fact this will adjust. So notice it's a down sloping trend line. As the price comes lower, our stop is actually going to follow that down with that trend line until it hits, or of course we can cancel it. If we had a strategy running, I can right click here. So I can actually cancel here, or double click on that order, it will cancel it as well. But if I had an active strategy, I would actually see the viable strategies that this particular order can be included in, and I can add it to that so that it'll now own that order and manage it accordingly. In the meantime, let's say this is just an example. I'm just giving you a demonstration. I don't really want it to buy here. I'll double click on that order, canceling it. And you see down here, it's canceled, it's gone. And this also works for pretty much anything you can do here. Let's see, I'm going to now do, let's go back here, show you the retracements. Draw a wave, retracement, or projection. Hold down the control key and then click on 2 points on the chart to create and track a wave, retracement, projection. This will give me a system alert. Let's say if I wanted to, first I can just plot it. So let's click those 2 points and now I get this box for a retracement. Okay, so I can actually get an alert, say if it hits minus 50%. Okay, now I'm going to, it's overlaid all of that information for the retracements, including the projections onto the chart for the 1 minute time frame. But I also put in for 50% mark. Within the next 15 seconds that I did that, hopefully it's not too late, I can hit Control B. Too late, I talked too much. That's the one thing when you want to add the order, just so it knows that you're associating with it, you have 15 seconds to hit Control B or Control S. So let me remove that and let me redo that. Click the 2 buttons. I got the minus 50. Okay. Now I'm going to hit Control B. Okay. Buy €1 USD. Execute order on a 1 minute Fibonacci 50% retracement level. Yes. Oh, there we go. And now you already see the order that popped up there. 1 to buy here. You might be wondering, well, why is it picking 1? Well, it's picking 1 because now, for one thing, when I put euro dollar in the chart, it adjusted it in the order manager, and we're showing 1 here. If I made that 10, it's going to use 10. So that's where it's getting that quantity from. And by the way, I can easily change that right from the chart. Also, well, I can do a bunch of things, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I can actually drag that around and change the price, and it'll accommodate that. Talk about powerful. I can also change the size. See, Control, left mouse, and drag. And there we go. You see that? So now I just changed it from one contract, which is basically in Forex $1,000, and now I'm making it 10. So I just changed it from 1 to 10. I really don't want that in the end. Let's just double click the whole thing. And oh, in fact, before I even had a chance to do that, it actually filled at that price. Okay, well, well, now you get to see an example of a fill. So we actually got our retracement price. We just got the 10. Wasn't even paying attention. So you see, but you also notice how on the upper and lower charts we're showing a position at 10. You also see it up here. By the way, you can click on any of these on the position. Let's say you wanted to do a quick flatten. Flat mode. You can flatten by just a market order, by the midpoint inside price, breaking the spread, or just bid or offer. Do you want to flatten the whole position, 25%? You can select any one of these, or no action, it removes it. And just since we're on that topic, indicators, let's say you don't really want to see it on both. You only want to see it on the upper chart, lower chart. LC orders position, we'll turn that on or off. Orders pos over here controls the lower chart. So you see that the 10 lot that we have here, if I remove that, all the orders will no longer show, or positions will no longer show on the lower trend chart. For now, let me re-enable that. Let's rather know what our positions are. And just to give you a quick example right from the chart, I just want to dump, I think we have a little bit of a bounce there at the 50% mark. I'm just going to drop 50% of that. There we go. Look at that. 50% market order, done. I just took my dollar profit on the 5 lot. Not a big deal, but it makes for a good demonstration. Also notice when I did this projection at the top of the screen, you also see all the details, how far back. We actually went 55% back on this particular retracement that I drew up, and how much what percent from that range are we actually off the low of the retracement, and what the high and the low is. And you also see the projections above. A few other things. Let's say you just wanted to do your own quick projection. You can click a couple points on the chart, and you have information like here, 50% retracement, but it'll also show you other interesting information. How many bars between these 2 points. So here we see that was 128 bars in 2 hours. You also see the amount of volume. In this case, in Forex, we don't know the actual volume that went by, but in tymoraPRO, it attempts to make some sort of an attempt at providing you tick volume and such, just based on the activity, how many bids and offers changes we see. So it's attempting to recreate some sort of a volume scenario that you can still use to analyze, which actually still ends up being pretty helpful. But again, just by clicking those 2 points, whether it's a stock or whatever the asset, here you'll get an idea of how much volume or how many ticks were transacted, excuse me, during that period of time. Another interesting feature here too, if you did if you did something, let's say on the 15-minute, you drew up a projection. So let's make a projection over here on the 15-minute chart. We'll just make that 0. We don't want to link any alerts to that. Okay, well, now we have a projection on the 15-minute time frame. If we go down, let's say, to the 3-minute time frame, you also have those points overlaid. Let's just make sure we enabled that feature. That would be map fibs over here. So you see that? We just now have an overlay of the 15-minute fibs onto the 3-minute time frame. Or basically, it'll take the highest fibs and map it down all the way down to the 1 minute on the lower time frames, just to keep track of the bigger picture. If, of course, you've marked it off. And that's if you enabled map fibs. So I suppose I should go through a few of these others indicators. TL's right only. Let's say you draw a trend line. Some people only want to see the trend line. They don't want to see it go all the way left to right. They only want to see it on the right side. That's what that would do over here. So you see suddenly the trend line basically just starts from the point that I clicked, as opposed to going all the way left and right, and it just projects out into the future. That's what TL's right only stands for. A grid, well, we understand that's when I turn that on and off. Grid, that enables or disables the grid in the background. Same for LC is always a level chart. So this is the level chart grid that you can turn off or turn on. And let's say these are too dark or not, they don't stand out enough for you. You can actually adjust that. Opacities are always tricky because you know, on one person's screen it looks too bright, on someone else's it's not bright enough. And of course there's also a feature in tymoraPRO where, let's say you prefer to look at just a dark screen, darker windows. Let me just show you that quickly because it's all sort of linked. Let's go to Help, Config, and here we see a few features. We have opacity, black motif. So let's just pick black motif. I'm going to put 1 in black motif, save configuration. Notice what happens here. The windows, everything kind of turns black now. So of course, right there, you know, some of the colors might be not quite right. It might, the background, the grids might stand out a little too much for you. You can actually make those adjustments with these 3 categories. The first one adjusts chart volume indicators. So for example, you have volume by price. That can be adjusted by this first box. Let's just show volume by price here. Okay, wow, you see that's a little bit intense. Let's make that maybe a little bit lighter. Let's try a 30 there. And you just sort of tweak the numbers. Okay, see, maybe that's a little easier. You know, it's a little more subtle. We prefer that. The middle is the grids. Let's say the grids are a little strong. Maybe let's make them 10 instead of 20. Okay, you see the grids, they've almost disappeared. They're maybe, actually now I think they're too light. Maybe 20 was just fine. Let's go back to 20. Let's see. Okay, you know what? The 20 might be okay. In fact, it might still be a little light looking here, but we'll leave that for now. The 50 controls the pre-market. So obviously we don't really have pre and post for the euro, but let's pick something like, actually, let's look at the futures. Let's look at the E-mini futures. Okay, when it's all shaded dark like this, we're actually looking at the difference between pre and post market. And let me go back. I tend to prefer just the regular white motif, so let's go back to this. The darkened areas are the pre-post market, and the lighter ones are the daytime session. And in fact, here it looks like maybe we should make that a little bit darker. So let me turn that. Let's try 30. That's making it lighter. See, sometimes I get it backwards too. 70 then should make it darker. Let's see. There we go. Okay. I don't know. That's maybe too dark now. Let's go to 60. Okay, and it's probably still too dark. Maybe 50 is good. Okay. So now we have 50. So that's adjusting these the opacity on these pre-post market changes. So it just marks off the beginning and the end of the day. So of course the brighter session over here, if we right click, that's where you get this little information box up here. We see it 927, 930, 918, there we go, 930, that's the market open, and this should be 1600. Actually, well, for futures it's 4:15 p.m. So we see right here, that's when we go darker. So that gives you the explanation of those opacities, how to adjust them. Oh, and one other thing I left out, TL width over here. Let's say you wanted on those retracements or on the trend lines, you'd rather them a little thicker. The ones that you saw are actually too thick. If you wanted them a little thinner, you could set that to 1 or 1,1. If you wanted much thicker lines, you could make that, say, a 3 or a 4. Let's go over linking. We see over here, well, first lock, as new data is coming in. Let's say I'm dragging over here, I want to look at this part of the chart. Problem is, as soon as new data comes in, it's going to jump and reset it so you can see the new data. If I hit lock, it won't do that. It'll just kind of stick there until I unlock it. And that will work for the top or the bottom. So just be aware of that and make sure you unlock it when you're ready for to see the chart. And you see it just kind of popped back there. The S button over here, if we click this, that lets you select a group. This is how you can set, let's say we wanted multiple charts. I wanted to look at the, let's set this to a 5-minute. I'm going to now bring up another chart. I click chart again, and I want another chart for ES, maybe on here. We'll just use 60 minutes since it's showing already. So let's see, I can set, well, if I set them to symbol, that's basically going to lock any charts together that are on that same symbol. So in fact, I could put this on symbol. If I have that on also on the ESH3, watch, if I click NYX here, they're both going to change. If I type, what else? Let's go back to our euro here, they're both going to change. If I select, let's say, group 1 on both, now they're still actually going to change together. But the difference between this is that only the assets in group 1 will change, whereas the other way, let's say I now created a third chart and had also put that in a euro group. See, when it's set to this S, it's also going to change with those others. But once it's locked into a group, only those two are going to change. I can also lock the chart so that it only stays on a particular symbol no matter what happens. That's where you see that little L. So now, even though this is in group 1, this is on lock, I'm going to go back to the euro, and as you see, this one stayed locked to NYX, and the euro over here, well, of course, changed. The There's one other thing I haven't shown. If I right click here, I've been typing it in, I don't need to. I can just pick whichever other stock I want from that list. Here's soda, anything I've pulled up recently. Harry Winston. Look at the NASDAQ futures. So any other chart that was recently pulled up, you'll see. In fact, here, that's a different feature in Tymora, but for certain applications, we also generate some of our own signals. You actually see that showing up on the chart over here. I think that's also in the, let's see, ES? Maybe it was, oh yeah, okay, here on the Dow. We have some auto-generated signals that showed up here. Another feature, let's say you're on this whatever stock. If you double-click, remember wherever, just always keep an eye on the hints that pop up. Like if you're over on this line here, which shows the high, the low, and such. Well, besides, it also shows you the information. Again, if you double-click, it takes you to the stats view, where it scans the internet for current relevant headlines and such. It also gives you a lot of other information, whether it's contracts, if it's a stock. Here we have sector relative strength. It's showing you other stocks for the day in that same sector that were strong. So financial diversified investment stocks for the day were 92 out of 100 in relative strength. We also have a lot of other information that appears here as well. And of course, you have all the these headlines that it's scanned for, scanned on the internet, which of course you can double click and you'll have that all appearing in the browser window as well. So going back, another feature here, let's say that you wanted to save or share a template, a chart template with someone. You actually have that ability as well. Here you see load and save. So that will let you, let's say you just set up on the chart all the parameters just like you like them, but it's like, oh gosh, I don't want to do that for every chart. Well, that's where you can actually save your settings by clicking save over here. And then you can create a file. You see it'll look like this, which you can even share with others. Whatever my template, like that, you save it. When you go to another chart, let's say, okay, now I'm on this chart view number 1. I want to put those same settings over here. I can just load that same chart template, and it'll copy all those same settings over. In fact, why don't I just give a quick example of that? Let's save this as my template 1, and let's go over here and load that in. Ooh, I think I spelled that wrong. Let's not a big deal, but let's just rename. Okay, there we go. We just reloaded, and now we have the same settings. So I don't know if you quite catch that, but you see I click between the two charts, it automatically changes. Here it shows you 0, 1 because you have 2 open charts, but you notice all the settings are the same. Auto trend, which I should go through. Auto trend is the automated trends. In fact, we see here on the 5-minute right now, you see this green and red trend line. So it's always looking to find good trend lines automatically on the chart that it can present to you. If you don't like that, you can disable that with the auto trend button. Here, not necessarily the best ones here, but you see they disappear when I toggle that. Here's a really steep trend line that I found. It's, which sort of makes sense, especially if you've got another big run up as a peak. But spikes, we actually it looks for spike activity in the underlying asset. See, when we have a big sharp move, it'll be marked off with these dots. And actually, it looks like I might have set my opacities a little light, especially when we were doing the test before. Let's try changing this to 50. Get those a bit darker again. Maybe still too light. There we go. Okay, now we see those a bit better. I made it 80. Okay, so you see these spikes. So here we are going, making a low. We have a trade spike down at these lows. Here we have one at the top. So it's looking to identify spiking activity on every time frame. The trend, if we watch the trend, that's pretty much a direct correlation to what you're seeing on each time frame up here, the daily, the 60-minute. So if you enable that, you'll get a good idea of what, well, here, let's see, we're on the 30-minute, and in fact, let's see, let me enable, let's take off these, oops, XMAs. And by the way, these arrows that you see, in case you're curious, that's actually this indicator. It's just showing exponential moving average crossover. In this case, it's just a 5 over an 8. Sometimes I just like to watch that because, in fact, on the lower time frames, it tends to be an interesting point. It seems to suck in a lot of more novice traders, or maybe even there's trading systems. A lot of high-frequency trading systems seem to play off of that. But you know, like for example, here we as almost immediately after we got an up arrow, suddenly we start trading lower. And what I also find is, like here we have an up arrow, we're starting to trade higher. If it sort of holds, it might actually be a good indication that there might be a bigger move starting to unfold. And in fact, that's what happened here on the 30-minute time frame. We also see that we're starting to sort of turn lower on these trend lines. Let me show you. This actually looks like it's matching right now close to the 5.8. These are actually the cycle optimized exponential averages from Tymora. In this case, it looks like they're coming pretty close to that 5.8 you know, crossover. But that's what we're seeing on the 30-minute chart. So if we change time frames, you'll see here we're still trading upward. We're sort of unfolding into a bigger move, and we are positive. Here we see, as I mentioned before, you see those crosses on the 5-minute and 3-minute? That means that we just broke through some sort of a rising trend line on the 5-minute and the 3-minute time frame, just with that little spike that we saw higher right now. And if we wanted to get a better idea of what, well, actually here we see that right here. There we go. It's actually showing on the chart on the top line at above consolidation resistance trend on upward sloping 5-minute and 3-minute trend lines. So that's where we see that was the alert that triggered. And here on the 5-minute and 3-minute time frames, we see it's just giving us that information and just showing it in case we sort of missed it off of the alert, or watching too closely, or focusing in on something else. Let's see, just go through a few other indicators here. Candlesticks, if you want candlesticks or not, you can enable that there. On the daily time frame, well, that's not going to show here, so let's pick something like New York Stock Exchange. You also can see float range breakouts. I'm not going to go in too much into that, but it essentially has to do with how many outstanding shares there are and the amount of time that it takes for that to turn over. It's sort of like a breakout strategy. If you can certainly scour the internet if you're more interested in float range breakouts for more information on that. If and of course you see dividends show up here as well. For example, here we see 30. 0.30D. So that was a 30-cent dividend that was paid out over here. If we want to get, make sure we know the date, if that's of interest to you. Here we go, 12/12. There was a 30-cent dividend. So it's also showing you on the chart. So yeah, there we go, 12/12. And if we go back, here we see other dividends that were paid out as well. So it's just overlaying that on the chart. So once again, if you wanted to make any adjustments, let's say, so you have, let's say you're interested in pivot points. You just click pivot points for the upper chart. Lower chart, you have a PTS, pivot points. You can click on that. if that's just more than you want, too much information. Let's say you just wanted to look at VWAP, which is the volume weighted average price. I've actually broken some of those out for people if they just want to create their own things. You not only do you know how to create your own from it, but it just makes it easier to just add here. I click on that. We have VWAP, a rising VWAP. We have an upper lower chart. If you want to understand how to make your own from your own indicator of maybe slight adjustments, just double click. You have the source code for that. And just so you know, scripting is a more advanced feature, so that's generally included with Platinum or above, tymoraPRO Platinum level. And what that means, like that shows you the source code, but if you actually wanted to create, edit scripts, you would go to the script tab. That's help, script, open, and then you see also here those same indicators. When you have a TYM extension, here, that's the indicator we just looked at, that indicator, IND_VWAP are all the indicators. I double click here, and I have all the code for that indicator. So you see it's basically just getting the information. It gets the information for the VWAP, and it just plots it after all the other information is drawn. So this video is not to go into that, just a quick, just to show you how to get to that. One important feature, actually I haven't shown, which I should have gotten to, is how do you adjust these different charts? Let's say you don't feel you need this upper chart. That's where this little box down here comes in. Let's say you don't want the indicator pane. You'd rather all this information just overlap on the top. I can remove the indicator panel, and everything else will be, all these indicators, if I enable them, will be overlaid on the upper chart. Let me bring that back. Let's say I want to just adjust the distance. Well, by right-clicking up or down, if I left-click, I can make the upper chart, the level chart, smaller or larger. If I right-click, it adjusts the distance of the distance between the indicator pane and the trend chart. Very simple. That's how you make those adjustments. Just one other thing to mention here, you might see that, be wondering what this 0.03 is, but that's actually ATR. That's just showing you the average true range, and it's just giving you a little indication what the average true range per bar is on that time frame. And again, if you want to know how you can modify that, well, besides just clicking in the hint, it gives you a quick overview. If I right-click, I get, okay, it's using the last 20 bars. The second parameter multiple equals 3. So if I want a larger multiple on my average true range, I could set this to, say, 3 instead of 1. If I want a larger font size, right now font size equals 7, I can make it 8, 9, 10, whatever I want. And just to sort of sum up, since this video is probably getting a little longer than most people like right now, is there's a lot of other features here, and you just kind of play around with them and you see what you're interested in. But if you have, for example, CompRS, that's actually comparative relative strength. So if you want to compare one asset to another, you could use this indicator here as a comparative relative strength. Basically did the spider versus the Dow Jones DIA, and you see here on the upper chart where it's comparing the two. You can also compare multiple assets on a longer basis on the time frame charts. That's using this overlay here. You can actually do multiple symbols here. You see a comparative overlay, 3 extra symbols maximum, and it will do a whole comparison of those assets as well, and you see do a little comparative study here at the bottom on the indicator pane. And another quick thing to show is there's, if you just want to show the last price, we have a lot of just these TymoraScript indicators. You have here last price That's what shows the last price on the chart. Let's say you'd rather, instead of see the volume or the volume moving average, you'd rather see that on the indicator pane. You can take it off from over here, or both if you'd rather. And here you have oscillator volume, and you see that it shows up at the bottom there. Let's say you wanted a grid on your indicator pane. You can even do that. It's actually been implemented as a TymoraScript indicator, believe it or not. It's just so you can get an idea, see the flexibility, what you can create. Most people are never even going to get to that point, but and often if there's some extra feature that gets presented to us often enough, we might just create it and add it ourselves as well. But they see there's a lot of flexibility in how to do that, and it's we always looking to add things if we feel it's going to provide an extra edge to traders or ourselves, since we're also traders. The last thing I'm going to show you, as this video is definitely getting a bit long, is that you can also have baskets, pairs, whatever you want. You can draw trend lines on them, even execute, just with a keystroke, the same way anything else works. Limit orders off of them. I only have one set up here right now, but just as an example, this is also a Platinum Plus feature, but help baskets and pairs. You can set up your own pairs. Here I just have like one comparison. It's the way you create the baskets, it's a double $sign, and then whatever it is you're trying to create. It's just an example between the Royal Dutch A and B shares set up. So this is actually a pair. Once it's set up here, it's automatically going to track that going forward. So I'm going to just give you an example. I'm going to pull that symbol up here. Double $sign RDS. I hit enter, and you see now this is the that particular basket. I can draw trend lines on that. Oops, wrong key. I'm doing a zoom. Draw a trend line on it. It'll trigger just like anything else. I can try and execute a buy order off that trend line if I wanted to for the whole basket. It'll immediately try and buy that whole basket. As you see, it's already here. So if I did right now, well, actually I can. The market's closed anyway. You see what happens. Allow pre-post market orders. Yes, it's just training mode. Okay, what's going to tell me in this case I can't do that after market. But it would have put out a buy order and a sell order for each of those assets as a pair, just in one shot. It's all taken care of for you. And that pretty much covers it. One last thing I just thought of, volume 3-point break. If you wanted to see, if you like sort of like Darvis box stuff, volume point break, there's just many indicators in here for you to play around with. There's basically something for whatever you're looking for. If you're looking, for momentum building up, you have the Guppy moving average, multiple exponential moving averages that you can just throw on over there, as you see here now on the indicator pane. So pretty much anything that you need that we found could sort of give you a different way of looking at things, a potential edge. You have it available to you in here to use as necessary. And on that note, I'm going to call it quits on this video. I hope it covered all the questions that you guys might have, and if not, please send more requests, and I'll try to cover them in another upcoming video on TymoraPRO. Best wishes for your trading.